Okay, here we are in Metal Talk, and it's good to be talking to the one and only Michael Schenker. And here in the UK, December the 2nd, brand new album out. It's called Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock, Bridge the Gap.
Yep.
Hi Michael, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
It's good to see you. And first and foremost, let's start off with the name of the band, because people think of you as your solo career as Michael Schenker Group, but you've gone for a new name, Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock. Why is that?
It's Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock, and it's Bridge the Gap. And basically, at this point in time, well, first of all, I mean, I don't know really where to start, but we are actually, or I am trying to use Michael Schenker at the moment as a platform to, after this album is finished, we're doing a new album, and I want to write collectively with everybody involved, everybody in one place, and then play a riff and see what everybody else comes up to with it, to it, and it kind of goes back to the point where how we actually step by step got to this point where there is a certain amount of excitement about this lineup that has developed into more and more possibilities for future, even to the point where Temple of Rock can be the future without not even mentioning Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock, but just Temple of Rock, because it's developing in its own, make another record like this one, and that band that is going, by itself. You don't, so anyway, but the way we got to that was when Herman and I and Pete Way putting together a touring project. I was also, that was after Gary Barden went back to Thailand, and after In the Midst of Beauty, and it was time for me to make a new record. That's when I was also simultaneously doing something with Pete Way and Herman Ravel. So I went to Münster to do a demo, and I had Michael Voss help me out with the guide vocals, who ended up actually singing the whole album, and then doing all of that stuff. And then by the end of the album, Michael Voss wasn't available for touring, so I ended up with Robbie McCauley in the States and with Michael Voss in Japan, and then it was Doogie's turn, who was available for Europe. And at that time, Pete Way, he didn't do too well, and so I asked Herman, what he thinks about Francis Buchholz. We're playing a lot of Scorpion songs, and it would be great to have as many, original from Love Drive in a band. And so he called him up, and Herman was more than happy to do this. And so that's when we had our first experience together after Love Drive, and all these years out of the loop, Herman, Francis and myself, for various different reasons. And so here we are doing a record together, after all this time, after Love Drive. And so, but before it came to that, we were touring. Then I thought I have to capture this on DVD, because you never know what happens next. And so we played in the UK, and then at the end, and then somewhere we would try to figure out where to do the DVD, and then it was conveniently Tilburg was chosen. The crew, the filming crew had experience in that place already, and it was convenient for everybody involved and fitted into the tour routing and stuff like that. So we did that DVD, and then we carried on touring, and the tour finished around October last year, 2012, and I thought, and it was so successful that we had more offers coming in, and so we had to come up with we had to extend our European tour, and so we continued that starting April 2013. So I had 6 months, and I said, this is the perfect period now to make a record. So I sat down, started writing. End of the year, I was ready to give Doogie material. I went to Michael Fox's studio, put down some rough demos for Doogie to work with. I told him sing, pitched up and melodic, and that was all he needed, and off he went. Ended up fantastic, coming up with great ideas, and so I carried on, putting down my rhythm guitars, arranging things, hired a special studio for drums, did the bass, Wayne Findlay, and then Dougie was ready to come over, and Michael Foss-Dougie and I, we worked together on finalizing the album and getting to the point where all the vocals was done, and then put it away because 31st of March we finished, and then 4th of April we already had the first gig in Russia, and so but the album was not going to be released until another 7 months down the road, and that was a very difficult period. I had to take this album and put it away. I didn't even play it to the band, and they were pissed off about it because they wanted to hear what it sounded like. But I knew better. I knew better that it would be good not to play it and interfere with the touring, because they would have wanted to change this and this and this, and we were not in a recording situation. You know, it would have created too much confusion and so on. Good thing is that it couldn't have been planned better. That after a few months on the road, it was around July, August. It was towards the end of our second leg of Europe. I decided to play it, and we listened to it, and we started fine tuning and doing that with a rest. When you record, you are in it, you hear it all the time, and you lose objectivity and. And so after being away from this album, we were able to perfect it. Like some artists, they wish, they release an album, 5 months later they say like, oh, I wish we could have done this and could have done that. So later you notice something. So we had that luxury created, not consciously, but we got the chance to fine-tune it and got it even better than it was before, and we added some stuff, we remixed it, we remastered it, and that was it, done.
And obviously this band is Dougie White, it's Herman Rabel, Francis Buchholz, and there's Wayne Findlay, and obviously, like you just said, you toured in 2011, so was that a good time to learn from each other to make this album,
Well, the thing is,
what benefits was it from being on that tour and playing with each other?
The tour was very important because that was the first reason why Francis was there, and so it was touring. There was no other. We had no other ideas about anything else. It was just, let's do this tour, and we need a bass player, and we playing. It was basically the Temple of Rock and Love Drive reunion tour.
And at what point on that tour did you think, yes, this is a good band, I want to take this further?
On almost a daily basis and a weekly basis, definitely. By the week, it got better and stronger. Everybody felt more comfortable. We had so much fun on the stage. It was just, and the material of the songs was so great, and Dougie was doing so great. He got better, he got the audience working, the people coming to see and re-experience. It was just fantastic, and so it kind of felt more and more. And I'm having a lot of fun on stage these days anyway, so, but it's just like, I sometimes think, there's more than meets the eye, things happen for a reason, and so, as we then did the DVD, and then, and then we did more concerts and more requests, and we kept playing, and we played the UK, and it was great. We had an incredible show in Glasgow, great show in London and other places. I mean, basically, it was great everywhere in England, period. Sometimes in Germany, people were just wondering, what is this? And they started maybe being a bit skeptical. That was in the beginning of our touring. I wonder what's going to happen. And so, like, after 4 songs, they were there, And then when we did the second leg of the tour, it was a completely different story already. Everything was established, people knew what to expect, and they were excited, and we were excited, and so we just kept going, and like I explained earlier, then the DVD was made, and then the DVD was released, and then now we're releasing basically DVD and album at the same month, in the same year, right? And so, well, but it's all good stuff and good fun, and so now we are going to America. I go with Dougie and with Wayne to do a new album release promotion tour, and then the first concert with the with the album lineup, Temple of Rock. We are starting in Japan in March, and then as we speak at this point in time, bookings are being made to, do the Europe after that, UK, and then America. And
fantastic! I definitely look forward to the live dates because you are getting better and better as well. You're playing better than ever before.
Yeah, I mean, it's like sometimes I don't understand what's happening, but maybe the script was already written and we are living a movie now, but. And I just kind of, I guess maybe the period in my middle life, in my middle years, they were very, very effective of the develop. I focused more on developing and experimenting. Like the first part of my career was until Strangers in the Night. I was focusing on, becoming a great guitarist, pure self-expression, and being in the loop of rock and roll. And then in the middle years, it was more based on wanting to do things that I couldn't do with the album touring band. I needed freedom. I needed my own pace. And so I needed to do what I needed to do to fulfill my own dreams. And so I kind of ended up, like doing these things with MSG. And then by the time like the early 90s, I even withdrew more, and I started, I looked into lots of self-improvement programs and all stuff that, do things that are effective, for progress. And so that's what I was hungry for, and really I wanted to just develop out of aspects that were uncomfortable in my life and stuff like that. And so, and I tell you, it all paid off, and I guess because of that work, being now back in the loop of rock and roll, I'm maybe released from a lot of stuff that was holding me back, and so, I have a developed wave coming out of me, and much less blocked and intimidated, etc., much more much more flowing, that there is not as much obstacles in the way, and so I guess that has an effect, and the results are this, and just continue being myself. It's just funny.
And are you happier now than any other time in your life now?
Yeah, absolutely. That goes with what I was just saying, that you unblock, you undo certain limitations, intimidations, certain fears, certain whatever, and you grow out of it, and you do some work consciously. It speeds up. That I think when we get older, we automatically, grow out of certain stuff that we didn't like, that blocked us or stopped us from certain things. As we get older, we kind of, experience more, and we can figure out a certain type of stuff.
And being in a calmer place mentally, how has that affected your guitar playing?
That's what I mean. It will have an effect on everything. It has an effect on everything, including the guitar playing. And so because you are less blocked, it's coming out. It flows from in to the out. And you're just more peace at yourself, and it has an effect of how you do things.
And when playing live, do you feel like you have more freedom? You're more concentrated on your playing now?
No, I don't know, I just am. It's just weird. I can't, that self-consciousness that was there big time, it's completely gone, And it's just like I was saying earlier to you, that when I had the long hair, or maybe it was the other interview, I had the long hair, I was hiding behind it, And between drinking and hiding, I was able to manage and get through those things, And but I would never really, drink or anything when I was in those years, in the very early developments in UFO days. I would not do anything when I write and when I play and discover. I would just do it when I'm on stage, and everybody was doing it anyway. Everybody for similar reasons, but not everybody was as sensitive and fragile as I was. But for me it was, never wanted to be on stage really, but I picked an instrument that puts me there. I never spotlight wasn't really. I was not after the spotlight at all. I was fascinated with the single string. What I was able to do with distortion and single string, the music that I fell in love with when Zeppelin came out, and Deep Purple and Black Sabbath and all the there was no music. No music was good unless they had a great guitarist anyway, you know. And so all the late '60s was when I really understood now what I want to do, and that's when I stopped copying people, and then I just went, you know, just focusing on pure self-expression and put it together the way I see it, and I've done it ever since. Basically, a musical, like a monk, you know, like a monk in the materialistic world stays away from that, and you know, I'm a musician, but I'm staying away from the music, so I'm kind of, you know, treating it very, very. That's probably where, you know, what I write and what I come up with is a bit. I look at it a little bit like holy scriptures, you know, and that's where the Temple of Rock comes from. And because if you're expressing, you know, a pure color that only you can express, and unless you express it, nobody will ever see it, you know. So if you make that effort, it will benefit yourself and everybody else, because it's something new, and it cannot be expressed by anybody else. So I did this round and round and round and round, you know, for so many years, that you basically leave a unique stamp. It's a color that you or colors, even, you know, I keep playing and discovering new sparks that I sprinkle over the next album, and to keep it all balanced and exciting, and so it never gets really bored, because there's always a new element involved, and so that kind of stuff. It's kind of great.
Let's talk about the new album, Bridge the Gap, because I think it's the best album Michael Schenker's done for many, many years.
Thank you.
And tell us about the album title, because there's like a little message in there somewhere.
Yeah, cool. Bridge the Gap. I had that album title before I even started writing. It was basically, it got inspired by Francis joining, because I now realized, wait a minute, you know, we are bridging the gap here. We didn't do much, you know, we weren't in the machine of rock and roll, the loop of rock and roll for all these years, but the last thing we did together was Love Drive, and now we are, you know, we are touring together and stuff. If we make, you know, and then when I decided after the DVD we have to make an album, and I already knew what the title was going to be, Bridge the Gap, and I also had another idea, because Wayne Findlay was developing really nicely on the 7-string guitar, and every time we did a sound check, I hear him play some stuff, and you know, it started sounding very, very impressive. And so I started having these ideas about using more of that sound for an album recording. But this is Bridge the Gap. I didn't want to go over the top with it, so I just blended in, you know, as a step forward and as a Bridge the Gap. And so the next album, I already see us sitting in a room together, writing together, you know, and responding to ideas that somebody comes up with collectively, and you know, creating its own identity, and finding manager who goes shops the band, and you know, like I have a representative, but that he's not available for dealing with everybody and all of this business on a daily basis, you know. So we would have to have, you know, for my solo projects it's okay, but not for a band with Herman, and everybody needs to have questions answered and stuff, you know.
And like I was saying, it is a band now, and like you write the music and does the lyrics. So how exactly do the songs come together? Do you give to Doogie the riffs, and does he got lyrics around the music, or is it music around the lyrics?
Since the last album, since the Michael Schenker Temple of Rock album, and then there was the DVD Temple of Rock in Europe, since then, I mean, since the release of that first album with Michael Voss, where Doogie was singing Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, and until now, you know, I keep playing and discover, and so I bump into a riff, I go, wow, I like this, and I put it on a little Walkman and a cassette recorder, put it away, you know. I keep collecting these bits and pieces all the time, you know. And when it's time to make a record, I just, you know, start, and whatever impresses me first, I stop, and that inspires me usually to write the next part to it. And then, you know, I develop it to the point where it's ready for the singer to do his stuff to it, you know, and that's how we did it.
And there's some sort of new sounds, like maybe it's sort of Doogie's influence. There's one song I like in there very much. It's called "The Lord of the Lost and Lonely," and it's got like a Gaelic Celtic feel, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit like also like the Sabre dance, like, yeah. You know. I don't know. It's just something that came up, and I put it. You know, I heard that riff, and I went like. I also made a conscious effort to keep things fast, heavy, melodic, hard. and good balance, dramatic, a bit of darkness, very melodic, and so that was as much as possible to express in all sorts of different ways, but in a nice balanced way, so that it wouldn't be becoming too boring in one direction. And so the question was.
Well, I say it's got a bit of a Celtic feel.
Yeah, that's it. And so that was just one of those things that came up, and I started from that riff and started developing other things that go with it, basically. And so, and I love the way Doogie sings in the verses. It's great. And then when he came up with the hook, I was blown away.
And I say it's an album full of great songs, as Horizons, When the Wind Blows. And how many of these songs on the latest album will you be putting into the live set, do you think?
Well, like when Dougie and I and Wayne go to America, we're just going to be doing we have to do shows, in order to go over there and promote the album, and we're just going to be putting in, I don't want to. Well, it's 1, 2, 3 songs, and then when we go to, and then we play a different set than we did in Europe, and when we go to Japan, it's going to be a different set. And then when we start, because Japan we haven't been with Doogie yet, so we kind of do a combination of what we have done in Europe, and so, but when we come back from Japan and we start the European tour in UK, that will be the new set, and that will also be the set that we bring to Japan,
And obviously we're having Francis and Herman in the band. Like you sort of revisit some of the Love Drive tracks on the last tour, like Another Piece of Me, Coast to Coast, and Love Drive.
Yeah.
And it's just on that album, because you only played 3 songs on Love Drive album originally. And I wonder if you could just clear it up for us, because there's always been a bit of a bone contention. Fans don't know if it was Matthias Jabs or yourself who played on the song Loving You Sunday Morning. So did you play on that song?
I don't even remember.
You don't remember?
I'm not too worried about it. I mean, I created the intro to Holiday, and my brother played the end solo, and I created all the melody lines on Coast to Coast. My brother started the basic structure, down, down, and I put all the the melodies on top of it. And then Holiday, and then Love Drive. I did throughout the whole song. I put stuff in it, and the lead break, of course, and then Another Piece of Meat, same thing. And but also Matthias played. I played this lead guitar in Love Drive and Piece of Meat, and then there's the possibility that I did something on that song too. But
so it's a long time ago.
But it's hard to tell. Even today, I don't know, because if it was a combination of things, or maybe it was me, because my brother adapted a little bit of my style.
Yeah.
So I kind of get confused that maybe with that particular song I can't really tell. And so, but these are the songs, and these are the songs we play live.
And are you thinking of putting any new Scorpion songs into the live set? So last time you played like Rock You Like a Hurricane.
Blackout, we play Hurricane, and so that is just there as something Herman was involved in, and that is also we play that. These are the only 2 songs that I wasn't involved in,
yeah.
And that's why Wayne plays lead guitar there, and so he got his spotlight, and but they're fun songs to play. They're fantastic songs to play live, and. Somehow they have a highlight. They create a highlight for Herman and for Francis, and But I would focus more on going direction. I need to keep it going the way of the most popular of my involvement, and because this is not about the Scorpions particularly. This is kind of more like Michael Schenker. We're using Michael Schenker as a platform to create something that can be standing on its own in the future, even without my name on it, and if it is being dealt with in a proper way. That's just a blueprint, but it's a possibility,
I think we sort of discussed it earlier. Did you see Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock as a band? Did you see it as a long-term project?
Yeah, I mean that's why I already have an idea for the next album, and then we don't know, what's going to happen next. But when we make another album, and if it turns out really good, and we have really good songs in there, then we can already combine a pretty good, at least like we can make it more like a 1/3 of Temple of Rock and 2/3 of the most popular. You see what I mean?
Yep.
And then, depending on how it develops, it may be going to end up like a combination at some point where we will always remind ourselves where we came from and where we will always present where we are today. And that combination is good.
And are you working on any other projects outside Temple of Rock? Do you have any other side projects you're thinking of doing?
I have done I've started a lot of things in the past, and so they are all there. It's all recorded. It's all something that people, what do you call it? Like became a fan of, etc., etc. And so I am excited about re-experiencing. Is it called experience? Re-experience, yeah. So even my stuff that I fell in love with, like Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple, to see them as original. I can understand why shouldn't other people be excited about it. And I think that's where we are at this point in time. Anyway, we're doing the roofing of the Temple of handmade rock. The way it started. With what I fell in love with the Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, etc. And we're creating this temple, the 70s, and then there was the bands in the 80s, and now we have come to the roofing, and we are celebrating the roofing. And my dad used to be an architect, and every time he finished a house, before they put the roofing on, they have a party. And so, I look at that as a building that, people are dying, like Gary Moore and Ronnie James Dio. Important people are leaving, and so at some point it will all come to an end, and all you have left is a memory. But that memory will be the temple of handmade rock,
And you have got this great new direction in life, and you're full steam ahead. But I think recently you have expressed an interest. If UFO ever got a chance to do one final tour of yourself included.
Yeah, that's what I meant. And so I started so many in my past, so many different lineups, and it would be stupid to close the doors to that, So it's just a matter of when everybody else is ready to do it. It cannot rain until the conditions are set for it to rain, and so all I can say is I love to perform my past and my present, and if the UFO at some point come to the same place, we join up and do it. Doesn't mean it's just that from now on. It's all part of our past, of our lives. If people want to see a re-experience and we have it available, then it's up to us if we want to present it or not. Scorpion's the same thing.
How is your relationship with members of UFO? Obviously, like
I'm fine with everybody.
Like Phil Mogg's always been. There's stories about you and Phil Mogg, and funny enough.
Later on, it was even Pete Way was more of a chaos because he was so uncontrollable, stepping on my feet, and I had to make a fool out of myself because of it to make a point on stage in Manchester. It was stupid, but it's just like. It's development, we all have to take time to develop and grow older and understand, and it's you cannot predict what's going to happen next, but I can only say it from my side.
And I think like you, Pete Way and Phil Mogg, you all live in the same part of Southeast London, Southeast England. Do you often bump into each other along the seafront?
No, I haven't seen Phil for a long time. Since I caught him buying lotto tickets, I think he moved away.
So what's the conversation between Michael Schenker and Phil Mogg at the checkout?
It was like I bump into him all the time, but every time I bump into him, it was maybe something like one moment I bump into him, he's on a bicycle up the hill in best form. Whoa, whoa. The next time I see him the next day, I see him falling all over the place, crossing the street, and he goes, Michael, I can't believe yesterday you see me in best form, today in the worst, And then because I was living right kind of 2 streets down the street, and so we go to the same place shopping and stuff, and then eventually I saw him, at Morris standing in a queue for buying a lotto ticket, and I think he eventually maybe had enough, and he probably sold his place and moved away, so he doesn't keep moving.
Maybe he did win the lottery.
Really funny though. But Herman's living there, and we have a great rehearsal room there, and so we usually get ready there for our tours, or we have been so far. But
fantastic. Let's quickly talk about the Schenker family briefly, because obviously we all know about Michael Schenker, there's Rudolf Schenker, there's even Barbara Schenker. But even there's Schenker Jr., Tyson Schenker, your son, he's got a new band out, State Villains, and I believe you've heard the new track.
Absolutely, great stuff, He did the first thing he ever did something. I was very impressed by his riff writing. And then he did something after that, the band split, and then he did something with Jesse, Ian Hunter's son. And I couldn't really understand that kind of music, so I wasn't really I couldn't understand what was going on there. But when he played me that new stuff, and he had been working on for all this time, and he was hoping that sooner or later he would find the people that would fit and stuff. And so I guess eventually he went in the studio and recorded stuff with the people he found, and it sounds really good. It's I can see chemistry, I can feel hear the chemistry between the singer and Tyson's riff writing, and so that there is a very good potential going on.
And Tyson, like yourself, he plays the flying fee, and does he ever ask you for advice, or do you ever give each other? Do you give Tyson advice on how to play, or for what style to go for, or do you leave him totally to it?
No, I never do that. I never interfere in anybody's life, period, because each person has a name and a body, and it means this is your project. You're responsible for that. I don't need to tell people what they need to do. They need to follow their heart and find out what they need to do for themselves.
And just before we wrap this interview up, do you have any unfulfilled ambitions? What would you like to see for the future, Michael Schenker?
Well, my basic, the first song I ever wrote was In Search of Peace of Mind, and that's the theme to my life, That is my number one priority. That is my goal, to get closer and closer, basically. I've got two tattoos. One says Born to Overcome, one says Born to be Free. Combine it, so obviously what I'm most interested is to overcome weaknesses and become stronger.
Fantastic. Well, Michael, you're getting stronger all the time, and long may it continue. It's been fantastic talking to you. The album Bridge the Gap is out in the UK on 2nd December. In Europe, it's out before that, November the 22nd.
Yeah.
Japan are lucky to get it November the 13th, and in America, they have to wait till January the 7th. But
yep, that's the new date.
And we'll see you on tour very soon, and really looking forward to it. Michael Schenker, all the best for the future. Thank you very much. Thank you.